Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Wednesday, March 14th. Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman. I'm very curious, what is your favorite kind of pie, my friend? It's pie day. 3.14. Come on, man.
I gotta say, I'm a big cherry pie fan, blueberry pie. I will tell you this, my family gives me such a hard time for this. I cannot stand apple pie. I know it's a very non-American thing for me. I can't have it. I can't have it.
Makes sense. You are a big soccer guy. I don't know that apple pie is my favorite, but I respect that you don't have to conform to must-love apple pie. Big key lime pie guy.
Ooh, key lime pie is good.
Lime pie.
Little cream. There you go.
Yeah,
I respect that.
I'm a little upset you didn't realize it was pie day, and I will no longer be buying you a piece of pie now. You're out.
It is about Pepe's.
Oh, well,
I know you're going down there tonight.
As it is, you mentioned Pepe's. It is a big game up in New Haven tonight. A big two games. We've got the Division I semifinals for boys ice hockey. 5:30, it'll be Greenwich and Xavier. 7:30, Fairfield Prep and Richfield. I'm heading up there. I cannot wait. I love being up at the Whale, especially this time of the year, and I think that we've got two really good games on our hands.
Oh, we do. You look at both games, I think it's kind of a crapshoot in terms of which one do you like better. Do you want to choose the early game, the 2 versus the 3, or do you want to go for the 1-5 matchup, which is really just part 3 of this great series between Fairfield Prep and Richfield that has a long time rivalry. But I really do think that first game between Xavier and Greenwich is going to be a terrific hockey game as well. Just overall, a good night for high school hockey over at the Whale.
And a little later on, we'll be joined by Coach Chris Rurik of the Greenwich Cardinals. He'll give us a little bit of a preview for what he's expecting out of his team. We'll break down the Ridgefield Prep game later on. I want to start, though, Kev. They announced the all-FCAC team for boys ice hockey this year. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm a huge fan of the way they did it. You had 6 players named to the first team, 7 to the second, 9 honorable mention. 22 total players in the conference earned all-league accolades, and I think that is the exact appropriate number.
I agree. I think, and you also look at Coach of the Year, Sean Gallagher. I think that's well-deserving considering what he lost due to graduation last year from that team that won FCACs and states. Coming back and getting this team to back-to-back conference titles now for opportunity to play again, second year in a row in the state finals. I think Sean Gallagher's done a terrific job with his Richfield High School program. I think there were some question marks going into this year where's Richfield gonna land this year, and they landed right back where they left off. A terrific season for the Tigers and well-deserved for Coach Gallagher. I
agree. Everyone very, very high on Greenwich heading into the year, and I think we got exactly what we expected out of Greenwich. Coach Rurik is probably the Coach of the Year if they win FCACs, but they're right back at where we thought. Obviously, we thought that Coach Mac Budd did a really, really good job. Yeah. We were very impressed with the work of Clark Jones down the stretch there as well for New Canaan, what he got out of his team. But you win a second consecutive conference championship after losing, that huge senior class. You're right. Coach Gallagher, very, very deserving of being this year's Coach of the Year.
And you look at the first team, and I agree with everyone that's made it, especially Sam New from Staples. He had a terrific season there for Sam New. Alex Mosian, again, continued to talk to rave about how terrific season that Alex has had, considering the bounce back he had to make during the offseason.
He's the skater of the year. If ever there was a lock, I completely agree. I think it's Alex Mosian. You're right. Sam New, what is that Staples team without not only him, but also the first team goalie in Zach Bloom. What a great job he did. Jake Lovato of Trinity Catholic. That Trinity Catholic does not get enough credit for the work that they put in. You're talking about a roster that played their final game of the year with 7 players, including their goalie. Lovato was the leader. He was their best player. He did everything for a Trinity Catholic team. Liam Galloway on defense. I thought he was one of the best blue liners all season long. The Granito kid from New Canaan was a little overrated, but that's just my opinion. And you're right. You had 6 players, including the goalie. It is a true first team, and I think those are, if not the 5, but definitely 5 of the best players in the conference.
Yeah, that's a great first line, too, going out and putting that team on the ice. Second team as well, I really like that. I think Pelletier Martinelli had a great season. Nick I thought played terrific defense for the Grange Cardinals this year. Tough-nosed kid. He's ready to be back next year for this Cardinal team. I think, again, this Cardinal team is going to be poised in 2018, 2019, but he's a key player tonight against Xavier and moving forward if the Cardinals are able to advance to the state final.
I like Pelletier Martinelli a lot because he was thrust into a much bigger role than he anticipated with the Cardinals. Connor Santry gets injured really early on there. Pelletier Martinelli becomes that top defenseman, and he lived up to that for them. Will Dixon for Darien was great. He was he was an energizer, is what I want to say, to that offense. He was a great leader for their team. Nick Cullinan is, if there was a player that might have been snubbed from that first team or the next person up, I think it is Nick Cullinan. He and Gunnar Granito, both as juniors, are probably in that same position. I think you give the edge to Granito because he was a definitive top scorer for the New Canaan Rams. Cullinan and the Tigers had balanced scoring. You look at his line mates in Forrest and Walker and didn't have to burden as much of the load. Will Von Brostich, we saw how important he was to Fairfield down the stretch. We see him play a huge role in that win over Staples in the quarterfinals, and then what a different team Fairfield was in the semis without him. Jack Kinahan for Trinity Catholic, another guy just like Lovato, just a leader, played such a huge role, you know. And then Henry Feifel. That one, to me, could have gone a couple of ways, but I think Feifel's play down the stretch is what gets him onto that second team.
Right, because Darien, you look at their record at one point during the season, you're kind of, scratching your head a little bit, but Feifel did a terrific job of bouncing back and, playing with a ton of confidence in between the pipes. You mentioned it down the stretch and playing well, close in the month of February and into now, and I know they didn't get as far as they'd like, but again, Feifel had a terrific season. I thought he made some clutch saves for the Blue Wave, and you're right, Nick Cullinan was terrific. I think you look at next year, him and Gunnar Granito are going to be two players certainly to keep an eye on in their senior season. It's hard to believe, they're only juniors. To think that they're going to grow for another season and become leaders for both their respective teams, it's going to be fun to watch.
And those are both players there, Kevin, who were finalists for that Skater of the Year trophy that was given out to Alex Mojian. Both those guys were finalists. I think they're going to play a huge, huge role. Another player that I skipped over on that list, and I'm sorry, but the junior defenseman from New Canaan, Turner Ives.
Yeah.
Turner did not blow it up on the stat sheet this year. He didn't have to. His first year as a starter, and down the stretch, you had a couple of big names like Walker Kerr and Justin Wheathold getting hurt for the Rams. Turner Ives grew up so much over the season, was one of the most intelligent players on the back end, so mature, rarely made a poor decision, and was a big reason New Canaan was able to allow a player like Dylan Shane to come into his own. I think
Dylan Shane needs a little recognition. I hope the team gave him a little something for being able to step up and play terrific this season. Again, just a great story for the Rams this year.
Could have seen him getting an honorable mention.
Just
for the sake of it.
Of course.
You had Eric McCabe of Trumbull, Logan Healy from Trinity, Nikita Kovalev and Matt Davey from Greenwich, Will Forrest of Ridgefield, Tommy Flynn from St. Joe's, Cooper Healy from Stanford, Matt Vitucci of Norwalk, and Matthew Mocker of Trumbull, all making the honorable mention list. Listen, I have a lot of respect for the way they did it. There are probably going to be some people who were a little upset, who felt they were left out, but it adds that incentive and gives it a little more meaning when it is an exclusive award that is earned.
Yeah, considering looking back at the fall season, maybe some of the other awards during the winter season as well. I agree with you. I think this is the most well-balanced. They got this one right. I think the right players got in. I know you can mention maybe Cullinan, maybe get in that first team, but I fully agree. Granito deserves it. I 100% agree with this. And yeah, there are definitely players left off, honorable mention, that deserve it, but that just comes to show how strong the FCIAC is, how many great players play in this conference, and how strong it is. So, again, I think you look at it, it's a competitive edge now for these players. They want to be able to either get first team, second team, or if you're a coach, you want to get coach of the year or honorable mention. So, looking over it, maybe use that as motivation. If you didn't get on this year, use that as motivation during the offseason, get ready for next year.
I'm going to assume they voted on this before Friday's game against Hamden, because if I saw Granito go off the crossbar and out in the third overtime, second team, Holmes. So congrats again to all the players who were named to all conference, and we want to wish them best of luck if they're moving on, or best of luck moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, let's move forward back to the state tournament. All right, we're going to be joined next by the head coach of the Greenwich Cardinals, Chris Ruick. That's on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Voted Best Gourmet to Go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito and Kevin Coleman, happy to welcome on the phone now the head coach of the Greenwich Cardinals, good friend of the program, Chris Ruick. Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for taking time with us. First of all, congratulations on the first round and quarterfinal wins. And now, as the boys had hoped all year long, you guys are heading back to the Whale.
Yep, no, we're excited to go. You know, it's always the goal of every year is to get to Ingalls. Now that you're here, it makes you realize how difficult it actually is to get here. There's so many great hockey teams in Division I Connecticut hockey. So it's truly an honor, a pleasure to represent our school and the FCAC, you know, to go up against Xavier.
And you guys had a little bit of an interesting gap there between your first and second game. Obviously, you guys went a day earlier to play against St. Joe's and then had to wait all the way until Sunday to play against Northwest Catholic. What was the most impressive part of that, you know, maturity out of your team to be able to handle that kind of a gap so well?
Yeah, the maturity, like, I mean, going into the first round with the weather being what it was and the power outages, like, I mean, no, right from FCAC all the way through that, you know, everybody's been disrupted by that. So it's just a matter of just rolling with it and battling with it. And then, you know, playing the day early, obviously that puts a little bit of a stressor on your team, which we came out okay. And then, but on the backside, getting an extra day's of rest, extra day of preparation for Northwest Catholic. You know, you can never have too much time. So, you know, the maturity was there, and, you know, it worked to our benefit, obviously.
Yeah, Coach, the maturity is certainly there, but it seems like the confidence is there. You know, since losing that FCAC final to Richfield, it seems like you guys use that as a motivation step here. You know, winning that first round, you know, big win against Northwest Catholic 3-0, where you guys play with a ton of confidence. And two players who seem to be playing out of their minds right now are Alex Mosian and Nikita Kovalev. Describe their confidence level right now.
Yeah, their confidence, like, obviously it was a letdown, you know, losing that FCAC game, but, you know, can't take anything away from Ridgefield. You know, what a great team to go up against. So, you know, I feel the right two teams were there. Unfortunately, there had to be a winner and a loser. But using that, you can rebound off of that. You know, you kind of get a scare. The kids get a sense of what could happen and how quickly you can lose if you don't play accordingly. So, getting back to your question with Alex and Nikita, yeah, you know, they're coming on great. They've used the year to prepare for this stage of the season. and the confidence is there because it's like it's a sense of renewed confidence where, you know, I feel sometimes some years you go into it where you're hoping your players can play above their ability to come out with a win. This year is a little bit different. It's all that we need to do is play to our ability, and I'm confident we'll win. So the confidence is there. You know, you're not looking to elevate your game. You're just looking to play to your ability, and we should be fine. And Alex and Nikita have done that.
A player who's certainly rebounded well has been Ben Nash, your goaltender. You know, 2 shutouts so far here in the state tournament. Describe his play ever since rebounding from giving up 6 goals against Richfield Tigers in the FCAC final.
Yeah, well, you know, even though he's a sophomore, he's a younger goalie. He plays very mature. You know, he understands the game. He understands how it goes. You know, sometimes you're not going to have a great game. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great game for him, you know, in the FCAC final, but he rebounded really quick, as good goalies do. Past is in the past, and we're always looking forward. So, you know, he's able to put that behind him.
Before we move ahead to today's game and, you know, getting back into Xavier, I do want to take a moment. Kevin mentioned Alex Mosian. He was named the Skater of the Year in Division I by CTHS Hockey. Coach, we've talked so many times about what a great story that is, his comeback from last year. But, I mean, what has it meant to this program to have Alex back as a leader for a full season this year?
Yeah, well, like I said before, you know, what a quality kid, like up and down, you know, all the way around, from how to deal with adversity, how to deal with problems, how to lead by example, work ethic, you know, good character, good presence in the locker room. You know, everybody gets better, including myself, just being around a kid like that. So, you know, accolades to him, everything that he's gone through, and the season that he's having. It's kind of a storybook story.
And certainly helps when you can score the way he does as well. You guys are going to be playing Xavier for the second time this year now. You fell 6-3 up there earlier in the year. What's the biggest difference between that last meeting and tonight's, do you think?
Yeah, like looking over the tape, you know, that was early January. We were still, like, I mean, I'm looking at some of the lines that I had when we went against them, and some of the D that we had that were logging a lot of minutes. The line combinations, you know, didn't quite flow. So we were still tinkering a bit. And then we were missing some key players, Bogger and Santry. So, you know, and I still thought we played well. But the biggest thing that came out of that game for us was we were able to stay out at the penalty box for the first time all year. You know, we sat the kids down and really told them that they have to control the game. The refs are part of the game. You have to control your emotions, and then the game will be called differently. And they really saw how that held true, because I think the game before there was 19 penalties called. So they calmed it down a little bit. There was only 2 penalties in that game. And then from that game forward, we're pretty much able to stay out of the penalty box, or at least there are infractions that happen on the ice, not the extracurricular stuff. So, you know, going in, I feel we're a different team going into Xavier this time around. We're fully loaded. And everybody's raring to go. The chemistry on, you know, Kovalev, Davey, Bogger is there. Unfortunately, we're going to miss JT Lawrence due to his DQ against the Northwest Catholic game. But, you know, you're going to see Mosian, Grace, Pratley. And then even the third line of Frost, you know, we're going to move Cadigan up, Danielson. 3 solid lines. Chemistry's there, so it should be a different outcome.
And you mentioned so many names right there from start to finish, and you really look at the depth of your roster, and that's obviously been the biggest strength all year, in my opinion. But you look back to points earlier in the season, you had injuries, you had illnesses, a lot of turnover both up front and in the back end. You look at a guy like Oliver Fulton. Oliver is the only 4-year player on the varsity squad this year. He's been with you since he was a freshman. I mean, that's a guy who has played probably every position except for goalie for you. And you've got so many others who have contributed both as forward, as defenseman, the interchangeability, the depth. I think that's really going to work to your favor tonight, Coach, that you are, even without a guy like JT Lawrence, still able to run 3 comfortably. You can mix in a 4th. You're going to have 3 solid pairs of defense. I think that's going to be a huge positive for you both tonight and potentially on Saturday if you guys are able to advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, the depth is there. it's really fun to coach because you're not afraid to put anybody out. But at the same point, it's like they're high emotion games. And being able, if a player is having a bad game due to emotion, being able to change him out with somebody else and take the pressure off them. We can move guys around the lineup. We can pretty much counter any situation that comes into play with our personnel. You used Ollie Fulton, for example. Until this year, out of distress, we had to put him back on D. And, man, he flourished, and he loves defense now. He told me, I wish I would have known defense 3 years ago. He goes, I love it. It's such a unique position. You have to think so much, and you distribute the puck. So, he's flourished in that. And, sometimes the positives come out of the negatives through injuries. And, credit to him. He's doing a great job.
Coach, in your second season now with the Greenwich Ice Hockey program, up to this point, what have you learned about yourself preparing for a state semifinal game at Ingles Rink, and what's the message that you're going to send to your team tonight before they hit the ice?
Well, the message going into these big games, I've been there with Bob Russell as an assistant in FCX, so learning a lot from him because he's been there for, he was there for 10 years. Learning a lot on how to deal with the kids in these big situations is key. A lot of it for me is, this is a big game for me too, but I also have to keep my emotions in check. A lot of times you go into the locker room, you don't have to get the room up. They're already up. If anything, you got to bring them back down. And then the biggest thing is, I always tell them, try not to live up to the moment. Make the moment live up to you. And then you just kind of do that little psychology of how you're looking at things and how you're dealing with things. And just go out and play to their ability.
Coach, my last question for you would just be, Greenwich is playing for a Division I state championship on Saturday. If the Cardinals do what tonight against Xavier?
Well, it's just a simple game plan. There's no special recipe at this point in the season. You have to win your individual battles. You have to get the puck out of your zone. You have to get the puck deep, get the puck on net. The same thing you say all year. But the biggest thing where you just have to limit your mistakes. The game is a game of mistakes, and everybody capitalizes on the other team's mistakes because that's how goals are scored. So you got to limit your mistakes, try to play a perfect game, and hope you get some bounces your way.
Well, we're hoping you get those bounces, Coach. Thank you so much for taking time with us this afternoon. We want to wish you and the boys best of luck tonight. Puck drop at 5:30. I'm looking forward to seeing you up there.
All right, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
All right.
Good luck, Coach.
That was the head coach of the Greenwich Cardinals, Chris Rurik. I think it's a Greenwich team, Kevin, that is in a good position. They've got the right game plan. Going up to Xavier anytime, that's a difficult place to play. That's a long trip, especially from down here in southern Fairfield County. I think it's a Cardinals team that's so motivated. They're going to come out firing. If they stay out of the penalty box, I like their odds.
I love how they've rebounded since losing the FCX final. I think they're playing some of the best hockey, and he said it best. You have to play mistake-free hockey at this point. When you get to these late games, later on in tournaments, especially a semifinal game like this, when you have a chance to play on Saturday in front of a great crowd, I think these two semifinal games tonight are going to be absolutely terrific hockey. I think this is going to be a great game as well. The 2-3, two similar teams, but I think you gotta give Greenwich a great chance tonight against Xavier. I think Ben Nash, considering he's got 2 shutouts, a lot of confidence in net right now. I like the Cardinals.
He's playing very, very well. We're going to dive into the other semifinal when we get back. We look ahead at Fairfield Prep and Ridgefield Chapter 3 for this season. That's next on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
While there's still a bite out on the water, most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com. Well,
thank you again to Coach Rurik, and we want to wish him and the Cardinals best of luck tonight. The other game, Kevin, part 3, Ridgefield, Fairfield Prep. What do the Tigers have to do differently in this game to knock off the mighty Jesuits?
Well, it's something similar to what Coach Rurik said, is that you have to play mistake-free hockey, especially against a team like Fairfield Prep, one of the top teams here in the state. This is a Prep team that had a little bit of a scare. I think now maybe realizing, okay, that quarterfinal game against Northwest Catholic, okay, this is a team that almost beat us. So I think you're going to see a motivated Prep team tonight coming up against Ridgefield. Obviously, these 2 teams don't like each other. You're going to see it get very physical early on. The big thing for the Tigers, keep emotions in check. Obviously, Prep is going to want to send a message early. I think Ridgefield should as well, but don't cause yourself to get into the box and let Fairfield Prep on a power play early on and maybe get too quick. If Ridgefield can score a couple of quick goals, if Cullinan can find a way to get the back of the net early on, get the Tigers on board, have them have a quick lead, then the Tigers, behind Sean Gordon, I like their chances because Gordon's playing great hockey right now. He's making some great saves, but again, they know who they're going up against. So I think if you look at it this way, if you're Prep, you don't want to see the Tigers for a 3rd time, but you're going to see a motivated Prep team tonight as well.
I think the big player to watch in this game is going to be the senior Tai Fujitani. We talked about Liam Galloway getting recognized as a first-team all-conference player. I think Fujitani is a big-time leader for this group. He's a guy who has played a lot of minutes over his career in games like this. I think he can be a difference maker. Maybe throws a puck on net that gets deflected, finds its way to the back of the twine. I think Ridgefield keeps it close.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can pick against Prep.
Right, that's the hard part.
They have been the best team all year. They continue to be the deepest team, the most talented. You're right. They get scared against Notre Dame of Fairfield there in the quarterfinals, and I just think that if they had cruised through Notre Dame, maybe they come in drinking a little too much of their own Kool-Aid, and Ridgefield can catch them napping. Now they're awake. They're back at the Whale. They're at risk of being the first class since 1990 to not win a state championship in their 4-year career. So that's something that they're thinking about as well. But Ridgefield doesn't make mistakes, and that's what they've done so well all year. It's why they were conference champions. If they capitalize on opportunities they get, they keep this a 0-0, 1-0 kind of game through the first 2 periods, then I think they'll have a really, really good chance to upset number 1.
I think, obviously, both games are going to be great, but that crowd, that second game is going to be going to be terrific. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's a great experience for these 2 teams to kind of get exposure like this, get to play in front of a big crowd like this, big student sections from both sides. So obviously the Prep student section likes to get rowdy, and so does the Tigers Lair. So it's going to be a fun night. Good hockey, 2 great games. It's going to be fun to see who's able to punch a ticket to the final on Saturday.
Let's agree that if Greenwich wins in that first game, we're okay with whatever matchup we get on Saturday.
Oh, certainly. I think you look at it this way. I think Greenwich against Fairfield Prep or Ridgefield, I think Greenwich wants another crack at Ridgefield.
Absolutely, but I don't think that the Cardinals would be upset with getting an opportunity to knock off Fairfield Prep. It would be the championship that most people expected heading into this season.
Right, you look at the rankings throughout the whole entire season. It's a lot of people are saying, okay, Prep and Greenwich, these are the 2 powerhouses this year, the 2 favorites. So I think that match will be great. Either way, I think it's going to be a good matchup. Whoever wins tonight and gets a chance to play Saturday, and no matter what, that final is going to have 2 great teams in it.
All right, well, best of luck to all 4 squads. It'll be Greenwich and Xavier at 5:30, followed by Ridgefield and Fairfield Prep at 7:30. Thanks again to Coach Rurik. For Kevin Coleman and Frank Granito. We'll see you next time on the HAN Network.